Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, 25th chapter, 13th verse. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So here is the verse 325:13. Shri Bhagavan Yoga Adhyatmika Pumsam Mato Nishreyasaya me Atyanto Paratiryatra Dukkhasya cha Sukhasya cha. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Yoga Adhyatmika Pumsam Mato Nishreyasaya me Atyanto Paratiryatra Dukkhasya cha Sukhasya cha. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Yoga Adhyatmika Pumsam Mato Nishreyasaya me Atyanto Paratiryatra Dukkhasya cha Sukhasya cha. Synonyms. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. The personality of Godhead said, Yoga, the yoga system, Adhyatmikaha, relating to the soul, Pumsam, of the living entities, Mataha, is approved, Nishreyasaya, for the ultimate benefit, Me, by me, Atyanta, complete, Uparatihi, detachment, Yatra, where, Dukkhasya, from distress, Cha, and Sukhasya, from happiness, Cha, and. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The personality of Godhead answered, the yoga system which relates to the Lord and the individual soul, which is meant for the ultimate benefit of the living entity, and which causes detachment from all happiness and distress in the material world, is the highest yoga system. In the material world, everyone is trying to get some material happiness. But as soon as we get some material happiness, there is also material distress. In the material world, one cannot have unadulterated happiness. Any kind of happiness one has is contaminated by distress also. For example, if we want to drink milk, then we have to bother to maintain a cow and keep her fit to supply milk. Drinking milk is very nice, it is also pleasure. But for the sake of drinking milk, one has to accept so much trouble. The yoga system, as here stated by the Lord, is meant to end all material happiness and material distress. The best yoga, as taught in Bhagavad Gita by Krishna, is Bhakti Yoga. It is also mentioned in the Gita that one should try to be tolerant and not be disturbed by material happiness or distress. Of course, one may say that he is not disturbed by material happiness, but he does not know that just after one enjoys so called material happiness, material distress will follow. This is the law of material world. Lord Kapila states that the yoga system is the science of spirit. One practices yoga in order to attain perfection on the spiritual platform. There is no question of material happiness or distress. It is transcendental. Lord Kapila will eventually explain how it is transcendental, but the preliminary introduction is given here. Translation one more time. The personality of Godhead answered, the yoga system which relates to the Lord and the individual soul, which is meant for the ultimate benefit of the living entity, and which causes detachment from all happiness and distress in the material world, is the highest yoga system. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Namah Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Welcome everyone to Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 25, text number 13. So this is the very first verse. So conversation between Devahuti and Kapiladev. So Devahuti has come to Kapiladev. Kardama has left for the forest. Previous chapter we saw about how Kardama Muni, how he renounced. She is distressed, and she has put forth some questions to Kapiladev, her son. And now Kapiladev is starting to speak, and this is his very first verse. So my Bhakti Vaibhava teacher, Bhayahari Prabhu, was saying that this is like the seed verse. This text 13, 14, and 15 are like seed verses. And it'll be explained in the subsequent chapters in the same canto. Those chapters are 25 to 32. So for the next 7 to 8 chapters, these 3 seed verses will be explained. And so in this particular verse, 3 things are spoken. Actually, let me break down the Sanskrit. 1 minute, I'll just pull up the verse again. Okay, so first of all, Kapila Dev is referred as Bhagavan. Right? We have often heard that Bhagavan is someone who possesses 6 opulences, the Bhagas. Right? So that is the definition of Bhagavan as given by Parashara Muni in his Vishnu Purana. One interesting definition that I was hearing that Srila Prabhupada was saying was Kapila is referred to as Bhagavan. So Bhagavan is someone who makes no mistakes. So he says Narayana Paravyaktat. So Bhagavan means above any material understanding. He is above any defects that you see in the material world. And Bhagavan means that he is not subject to deficiencies, right? The 4 deficiencies are, that conditioned soul is imperfect, they commit mistakes, they become illusioned, and they have a tendency to cheat. So Bhagavan is beyond all of that. So Prabhupada gives this definition in one of his classes. So such a Bhagavan, such a personality, Kapiladev, what does he say? He says, Mato me, meaning Mataha is approved. By who? It is approved by me. So this verse that is being spoken is approved by the Supreme Lord. And so what is he saying? He's going to talk about yoga. So the yoga system. What does this yoga system do? It delivers 3 things. One, Adhyatmika Pumsam. So Atma means relating to the soul. And Srila Prabhupada says in this lecture that Atma can refer to this individual soul. Atma can refer to the supreme soul, like Paramatma. Atma also in some instance may refer to the mind. Adhyatmika Pumsam. So first, this yoga that Kapiladev is going to talk about, yoga system, it relates to the soul. And in the translation, Prabhupada even says it relates the Lord and the living entity. The second thing that this yoga system delivers is Atyanta, meaning complete, Uparatihi, detachment. What are you detached from? What it delivers complete detachment, but what are you detached from? It detaches you from dukkhasya, from distress. Is it just from the distress? Of course, we want to get detached from the distress, right? But also from sukhasya, so from happiness as well. So this is the second thing. So the first aspect of the yoga is that it relates to the soul. Second aspect is it gives you complete detachment. A third aspect is Nishreyasaya, for the ultimate benefit. So those are the three aspects. And my Bhakti Vaibhava teacher was saying, he was quoting Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and he said that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that this verse is like a seed. It's like a little packet that contains everything. So the three aspects that are being referred to are Jnana, Ashtanga Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. So the Jnana Yoga, um, for example, uh, material detachment, right? This tolerance that is also often spoken of in the Bhagavad Gita, it is delivered through the process of Jnana Yoga. The process of relating the individual soul to the Supreme Soul, it is delivered by Jnana as well as Ashtanga Yoga. But the highest benefit is delivered by Bhakti Yoga. So one can imagine, think of this. And, I was thinking, why is this verse talking about all of those three processes? For example, early on um in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.6 and 7, we hear, Savai pum samparo dharmo yatho bhakti adhokshaje ahaituki apratihata yayatma suprasidati. So that bhakti, that is ahaituki and apratihata, what does it do? In the subsequent verse in text 7, it says Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayati Ashu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayat Ahaitukam. So when you perform Ahaituki and Apratihata Bhakti, Jnana and Vairagya follow. Right? So we hear this being spoken of early on, in very early on, like first canto, second chapter, 6 and 7 verses. In this verse, however, Kapila Dev speaks of those three things as if they are separate. And this is just my understanding. I was thinking, I've heard of it in other places, that Srila Prabhupada talks about process of bhakti and process of jnana, right? They are like two rails on which the train has to go. Because without knowledge, the process that you do may just become emotional, it may just become sentimentalism. But if you just do the process, if you just do the jnana, then your heart becomes very hard without doing the process of bhakti yoga. So both are there. And yet we understand that bhakti delivers both jnana and vairagya. So then the question may come, if bhakti delivers both jnana and vairagya, why is jnana or why is this ashtanga even called as yoga, right? Yoga means to reconnect. Like we hear Prabhupada often say, yoga comes from, the yoke comes from yuj, yoke meanings to connect. What two things are being connected? The individual soul and the supreme soul are being connected. So again, the imagery that is coming to our mind is, imagine we've fallen into this, we are in this deep ocean. Material world is like it's an ocean. Imagine a big ocean liner comes. It's so up above you, but the captain drops the ladder. Krishna himself drops the ladder. The very first act of us touching the ladder is yoga. Therefore, even if you're on the very first ladder, even if you're doing jnana yoga, you're trying to get knowledge of the soul, you have connected to that Supreme Lord just by attaching to the first rung of ladder. Then comes this letting go and going up, letting go and going up and letting go and going up. Yes, at every single step, you are detaching yourself. And at every single step of detachment, there is attachment. Rather, I should say the other way. Before detachment comes an attachment, right? Before you let go of your first rung, you have to attach to your second rung of the ladder and then on to the third. So attachment to the Supreme comes before detachment. So why am I saying this? I'm saying this because jnana, the process of jnana is also yoga, because ultimately we have caught on to this ladder that is being thrown off by the Lord. And is that sufficient, right? We've heard this example of the staircase method and the elevator method. Yes, we can do this slowly picking ourselves up and detaching ourselves from one level to attaching ourselves to the next level. That is possible. But when we do this bhakti, we are always on this elevator method. You're surpassing all of that. So, and I because Gaurav Purnima is coming, I was thinking of a pastime which we have often heard, and that is the pastime of when Lord Chaitanya was in Srivasangan. There he would go there and he would perform ecstatic kirtans every single day, every single night. And would go all through the night and the morning till morning. And people, it was behind shut doors. Nobody was allowed, and only closest devotees of the Lord were allowed, right? And there was this one particular time Lord said, I'm not feeling the ecstasy. Something is not right. My heart feels a certain sadness in this house. And Srivas Thakur was so eager, was so attached to the Supreme Lord. He actually, this pastime is bewildering for me as a mother, but nevertheless, one can appreciate his attachment to the Supreme Lord. So Srivas Thakur says, what is it? Srivas Thakur already knew what had happened, right? He already had heard some crying that was coming from the room, and he he went into those inner chambers in his house. And when his wife and other family members were crying, he told his family members, our son is fortunate because he's passed away when Lord Chaitanya is performing Sankirtan, and our son would definitely have returned to the spiritual world. Right? And then Srivas Thakur even reprimanded them. If your crying is going to make Lord's dancing stop and it's going to stop the Nama Sankirtan, then I would give up my life. So do not stop, do not cry, do not disturb the Sankirtan. And so Srivas goes back and he joins the Kirtan. But Lord Chaitanya stops and he gets to know that Srivas's son has died. And upon hearing this, Lord Chaitanya cries. He says, how could I give up the association of such a devotee who does not know any sorrow in this world, even to the extent of the death of his own son, just to make me happy? How can I give up such a person's association? And um, later, Lord Chaitanya goes to the inner chambers and he goes and asks the child, he says, why did you leave your father's house? And the child sits up and he says, my Lord, I am your eternal servant. Wherever you send me, I will go. And this is by the power of your mercy, by the power of your destiny, the time factor, I have left. Who's my relative? Who's my father? Who's my mother? When time comes, the soul has to depart. So please forgive me for any offenses, and I will go wherever you send me. And the child says all of these transcendental words. He lays down again and he passes. So the family is then in ecstatic bliss, right? The Srivas Pandit is in ecstatic, he and his family. And seeing this extraordinary display of affection for the Lord, Lord Chaitanya says, I am like your son, and Nityananda is also, both of us are like eternally like your sons. And so I'm saying this pastime, one, in anticipation of Gaura Purnima, but also two, I felt like it related to the verse. And that is when one is attached to the Supreme Lord, this knowledge of the soul, jnana, and detachment, vairagya, are automatically taken care of. They follow, like we hear, like servants, they follow. And so this is one thing. I have 10 more minutes. So I have few other things to add. So in this particular verse, again, like I said, there are three things that have been spoken of. One is atyanta uparatihi, detachment from dukkha and sukha. So I was listening to Swayam Bhagavan Keshav Maharaj in one class. He was saying, how do you know what is happiness and distress, right? We don't know what is happiness and distress. At one point in time, something may seem like happiness, but it'll lead to distress. We may think something is distress and it may lead to happiness. And, our the famous is this Chinese farmer story that I've heard from my Guru Maharaj, right? Like there is this Chinese farmer who had a horse, and his fellow villagers, they would come and tell him, "Oh, you're so lucky you have a horse," right? And then the horse ran away one day. Then they all came and said, "Oh, we are so sorry for you. The horse ran away." Then the horse brought back other wild horses. And the villagers came and said, "Oh, you're so lucky you have so many horses." Anyway, he keeps saying, what is distress? What is happiness? Who can say, right? And then the son goes to train those wild horses. He has a fall and he broke his leg. So the villagers came and said, "Oh, we are so sorry that your son broke the leg." Again, who knows what is happiness and distress? Who can say? And then the time came for recruitment to the army. Everybody was taken except his son because he had a broken leg. Again, the villagers came and said, "You're so fortunate uh, that your son has a broken leg and now he need not go to the army." So again, he says, fortune, misfortune, happiness, distress, who can say? Right? So it's, SB Keshav Maharaj says, we don't know what is happiness and distress. Again, in one lecture of Prabhupada is speaking and there's like fireworks going on in the background. It's like constantly, it's noisy throughout, almost throughout the class actually. And Prabhupada says, the happiness of those people who are cracking, who are setting off those firecrackers is distress to somebody else. So we can see it is totally enmeshed in this world. The other famous story, right? The analogy, the man, he's running away from tiger. This tiger is like death that's pursuing him. He climbs up a tree and he's holding on to the branch, and the branch is very, very thin. He's precariously, he thinks he's escaped the tiger, he's escaped death. But then there are two rats, the white and the black rat. They're gnawing at the tree branch. Anytime the branch can fall off. So that black and the white rat are like day and night, gnawing at our lives. And then there is the honeybee, the beehive that's up above. Due to this distress caused by the shaking caused by the tiger and all of those things, the the bees are disturbed. So the bees are coming at him. They're stinging him. So these bees are like small distresses in our life. And he looks down. There are hungry crocodile, some stories say crocodile, some say snakes. Either ways, that the tree, if he falls off, the branch falls off, he's going to fall into the lake where hungry crocodiles are waiting for him. Those are like the big distresses. But in between all of that, between the bees and the crocodile and the rats and the tiger, a drop of honey, it's like dripping, it's almost at the tip, and the man is waiting when he will get to taste that drop of nectar, drop of honey. That is our situation. Our situation is that we're waiting for the drop of honey to come. And it's foolish, isn't it? It's foolish, but we're waiting to taste that nectar, that honey that is enmeshed. So the verse is saying, Kapiladev is going to deliver this yoga process by which we can detach ourselves from this material happiness and distress, by which we can relate to that Supreme Lord. Adhyatmika pumsam. So for the living entities, we are not alone. Uh, we're not just individual souls. We are souls that are part and parcels of the Lord. So again, another famous analogy that and finally, Nishreyasaya, the ultimate benefit. When does it come? By the individual living entities are like sparks. We are meant to, we are Sachitananda, but when that spark flies off from the fire, it loses its natural propensity, that the nature of fire, it loses it. It becomes soot and it falls down. But the process of yoga, it reconnects us. And, we get that fiery nature back. So that is the ultimate benefit. The Shreya, the ultimate benefit is connecting to the Supreme Lord. So we are just a couple of minutes before the hour. So I think I will quickly summarize it. This verse is the 13, 14, and 15 are like seed verses spoken by Kapila Dev. He's going to speak his Sankhya Yoga and but also known as Adhyatma Yoga, these three verses, meaning there are three aspects to it: Jnana, Ashtanga, and Bhakti, namely Jnana, which refers to understanding that we are the soul and having detachment from the material distresses and happiness. And finally, attaching ourselves to the Supreme, which brings the ultimate good, the ultimate happiness, this service to the Supreme Lord. That is our ultimate happiness. And so that is delivered by bhakti alone. And so those three things he is going to speak, and it is going to be explained further on from this chapter up until 32nd chapter of this canto. So I am sorry if I rambled along a little bit, but if there are any thoughts and corrections, please do share.
Hare Krishna
Krishna,
Mataji.
sorry. Prabhu, please go ahead.
Oh, Sandhya Mataji, you please go ahead. I'll wait.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Varsana Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Guru Maharaj Srila Prabhupada. I was thinking, yeah, we don't even know what is happiness and what is this, ultimately, so-called happiness and distress. They say distress bring you closer to Krishna because we cry out for him. But Krishna himself says, Yoga Kshemam Mahamyaham. I carry for them what they lack. And and preserve what they have. So yoga, it doesn't mean that we must so much worry about our material condition, or because Lord assures we can be completely detached. That's what I'm saying while practicing yoga, because Krishna has this promise for us that he will take care. That's what I wanted to just say. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Very beautiful the way you illustrated that the ladder, one step to the next, and your stories, of course. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Fantastic class, very good analogy and realizations. Mataji, I was contemplating on the point which you were saying about um, material relationship, especially both happiness and distress can be experienced through material relationship. My family, my extended family, or some distress also comes from family or others like friends and all those things. And you also brought the point. I also heard when you said about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asking Shiva's Pandit son, "Where have you gone?" And he was responding, "Who is my father and mother?" So the material relationship is terminated instantly as soon as the soul departs from this body to the next body. Right, Mataji?
Mhm.
That's also the same shared in Chitraketu's story.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sounds harsh, but that's the reality.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember we always try to find the silver lining, like when my mother passed, we were thinking, oh, she suffered quite a bit, and so the we were telling ourselves, at least her suffering has ended.
Mm,
So that is how we were consoling ourselves. So we have this way of numbing ourselves and not looking at the reality. I mean, I can speak for myself. So, and it's a repetitive pattern, right? Like, yeah, it's the ultimate unfortunate reality. But I think, just by, I was, as Sandhya Mataji was speaking, I was thinking, like Lord Brahma says, all we have to do is like stay alive in this process, right? Like,
yeah, yeah.
and the Lord will take care of us. The same ladder analogy, while we are pulling ourselves up, He is pulling up the ladder towards Himself too.
Mm,
So all we have to do is like stay connected with Him, stay alive in the process of bhakti, and ultimately that Yogakshema Mahamyam, that'll be He'll deliver. He'll deliver what we
mm.
lack. So yeah, but
Thank you, Mataji, for the detailed clarification. I know it is hard, but it is by Krishna's mercy and Guru Padashraya, we can sustain. That's the in Srila Prabhupada ways, best use of bad bargain,
correct, correct.
right?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mataji.
Yeah, without going into the details, I've shared with some of you that some of my family members very close have passed, but in hindsight, like you said, Guru Padashraya. So, those family members who had taken shelter of a guru, one can see Krishna had orchestrated
True.
so many things in their life. And so that is our only hope and our only shelter. So the holy name and the guru's shelter, that's our only means of escape.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you. I know we're past 8. So Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrind ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam